I like you guys' chemistry when I've heard the podcast a couple of times. I like you guys' chemistry. Definitely, Josh comes in like he has his really strong opinions.
Yeah, he comes in hot.
Yeah. Oh, he's an angry man. Very angry man. Hates children.
Probably. Feel free to spread that around.
Yes. Okay. I'll put that on Twitter.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 22 of Rather Be Playing, the podcast where we talk about how we'd rather be playing games than
educating Americans on the correct spelling and etymology of St. Paddy's Day.
How did I not know you were going to say that?
You should have known.
I'm Elliot.
I'm Stevo.
And we've got Carlos here as well. Hey, Carlos.
Hey, I'm a special guest. Can I please get the least a special guest?
Special guest.
What's up,
first
fellas?
and I guess
doing?
last appearance now. Yes.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, welcome to Rather Be Playing. Thank you so much for stopping by on such short notice.
No problem. Glad to help out and either talk new school games or old school games or anywhere
and
in
lots
between.
of MMOs.
Yes.
lots of MMOs. Yeah, if you haven't guessed, Josh is out today. He could not make it. We are not important enough to him. So
no, sorry. Actually, Josh had a personal emergency, and we hope everything's cool there. But thanks again, Carlos, for helping us out. We really appreciate you jumping in here.
No problem.
And in case you missed what I was alluding to earlier, Americans have serious issues with spelling the word Paddy, the abbreviation of Patrick. Now, in fairness, I found it wasn't as bad this year as it has been in the past. I went to Chicago, and in years gone by that I've been going to pubs on St. Paddy's Day, and they have spelt it with T's incorrectly with T's. Hashtag Paddy not Patty for anyone out there, or paddynotpatty.com. Go educate yourself. If you're not sure what that means, go check it out. PADDY is abbreviation of Patrick, and I won't dwell on the subject anymore. Carlos,
actually,
who are you?
So, fellas, yeah. Well, I'm happy to join the podcast. I am actually Elliot's older cousin. Kind of brought him into the gaming universe at a very young age, and
you're taking credit for that.
I'm definitely taking the credit. I think I was about 5 years old when he was born. So at around 6 years old is when I got my Nintendo. So I was already bringing it over to their house, and I'm pretty sure I was trying to get him hooked on it at the tender age of 1.
Yeah,
good man yourself.
Every Mario needs a Luigi.
And Elliot is definitely a Luigi. You've got the height for it, man.
It's true. That's exactly right. And so this goes back to the beginning here. This is my origin story, Carlos.
I feel like there should be.
What did you guys play together as kids?
Actually, I remember for myself, I had Kung Fu, like the old Kung Fu on Nintendo.
Oh,
yeah, that was a classic. I still have my Nintendo from back in the day, so I still got.
Damn, so you had no reason to pick up the NES Classic then?
No need for it. I still have
really?
30 games for my old Nintendo. It still works. And the only thing is it's analog, so it's kind of hard to put it onto any TV nowadays. But
yeah,
and you can't save scum like I would.
Yeah.
But I still have 30 games for it. I still got Kid Nicky on there. To throw back a game that probably nobody remembers.
Hey, don't even know that one.
That's a deep pull. We're going to be looking on the Twitter feed to see who reacts to that one. People are going to be like, "Oh yeah, that was my jam."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's about time. It's about time we got a reference to it.
Yeah.
It's the video games are an integral part of my life. fortunately and unfortunately. For my wife, she probably thinks unfortunately, but she appreciates the fact that I have a hobby that doesn't involve me, going out to clubs or doing anything like that. I'm usually just home playing my games. So
exactly,
that's good.
Just say this could always be worse.
Yes, it could always be worse.
I guess one of the most important questions, and with Josh not being here, I'm going to have to ask you: how do you pronounce the word NES?
Oh yeah, how do you say Nintendo when you shorten it?
NES. I mean,
you do say NES. Yes, come on.
I mean,
another one.
I mean, yeah. Generally, it'd be like. I mean, actually, let me think about it. You would play your NES. Yeah, actually, no. I would say you would play your NES.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't say your NES. No, you would say I'm playing NES at home or Super NES. Yeah.
And Super NES.
Yeah.
Super NES. I'd say SNES sometimes.
Yeah, SNES, Super NES. Yeah. You would have to
SNES all the way.
SNES.
You're outnumbered, Stevo. What would you say is your favorite console then, Carlos, of all the generations that you've had? And I'm guessing you've had like one every generation, multiple every generation?
Multiple every generation, and I still have them all. So
get away.
Yeah, I still have them all. I think my favorite.
Come on, name them. What have you got there?
Oh man, I've got my Nintendo, I've got my Super Nintendo, I've got my original Game Boy. Actually, yeah, I still have my original Game Boy from back in the 80s. Still works. I still have Final Fight for it. No. Fist of the North Star is the game I have for it, and Tetris. I've got my PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 3, GameCube, Nintendo Wii, PlayStation 4 now, Xbox One, Xbox 360.
Jeez.
Yeah, my Nintendo Switch. No Wii U, but yeah, wow. I kind of bypassed that. But yeah.
If you had to categorize yourself as a Nintendo fan or Sony fan at this point,
I'm a Sony fan.
Which would you say?
I think I'm a Sony fan. I mean, I love the Nintendo games, but I kind of only stick to the real, like kind of like the real marquee games, like like Mario Karts, the Mario games. But when it comes to their third-party support, I don't, there's not too many that I can say like are a must-have. So if you can have them on Nintendo, you can have them on a HD system. You're gonna go for the HD system.
Ooh, Elliot would disagree.
So I understand that argument as well, but with the Switch being portable,
okay, the portability, I can see that.
So I'm starting to be like, I would prefer almost like, except for first person shooters, I would almost prefer to have like, if I could get God of War on Switch, would I get it on PS4 still? That's tough because God of War looks amazing on PS4, but if you could take it with you anywhere.
But when you see the graphics, when you see the fidelity of it, when you see like apparently they do some amazing things with like keeping everything in-game engine, like no what do you call it, like transitions between
no cutscenes
and you couldn't even do that on a Switch. Certainly not now.
Could. It would just be like 240p.
Yeah, doing that resolution scaling that Doom does so much of.
Yeah, no, so definitely, I mean, the Switch is fantastic. I think it's an amazing system. And like I said, like I told you guys earlier, I'm thankful for it because it lets me game even when I'm in bed and my wife's upset about me playing for hours and hours. I can still take it with me and I'll play in bed. But
absolutely.
So yeah, in that respect, I mean, it's a fantastic gaming system. But when it comes down to, I guess, playing online or hardcore gaming, like I prefer a PS4. And one day I will be upgrading to I'll be getting a computer system. So definitely I have to move on, have to move up.
Yeah. The best thing about PC gaming is the backwards compatibility. Like you can always play everything you've ever bought. And I wasn't as interested in it until I went from PS3 to PS4 and I couldn't take any of my PS3 games with me. Yeah. I was like, if I had, and a lot of them eventually got PC ports, like if I had just gotten them on PC, wouldn't be an issue. But PS4 still has those exclusives that you can't really ignore.
Yeah, so I think one of the best games created that just got a port was Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah,
I remember it from the PS2 games, from the PS2 days, and when that game came out, it was like the scale of it was revolutionary. Like seeing these gigantic monsters on screen, man, mind you, if you look at it now, it looks terrible. by comparison.
Yeah.
But just at that point in time, you were awestruck. I remember it took me about 2 days to beat it. I think I beat it in 16 hours, but it took me like literally.
Wow.
But it took me from, I think I got it on a Friday and I had it beat by Saturday morning. So I just didn't sleep. I just couldn't get enough of it. But yeah, now like the new version looks amazing. I don't know if you guys have played it yet, but
I haven't picked it up yet, and because of no new games 2018, I'm kind of hoping for it on a PS Plus. Maybe we might not get it in 2018, but hopefully at some point,
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a must-have, I think, in anybody's collection.
I remember when I first got that, I plugged in. I think we're having like a family thing at my parents' house, and I plugged in the PS2 and just played the first Colossus on the big TV. And so many people just kind of stopped their conversations and were like, "What the hell?" Like it was like watching a movie. It takes up the whole screen. There's no HUD. It's just this guy taking down this monster, and it was breathtaking, as you say.
That's so cool,
man. Now I want to play the remake.
Carlos, what memories do you have of this man playing games? Any classics? Any classic fights?
Yes.
That you two got into?
Him and his brother. Jesus. So this is when they lived in Houston, and I went down there to visit them. I think I was about 15, so you were 10, and Bradford was probably about what, 8 or so.
Yeah, like 8 or so,
yeah.
8 or 7 or 8.
So it was a constant battle for who had time on the video game systems, and I remember Elliot was playing, and I think it was Bradford's turn, and Elliot had like skipped Bradford over and was like, he was just going to go again. And Bradford comes from out of nowhere and just like hits Elliot in the back of the head. And he's like, "It's my turn." And it's like, oh man, it was constant fighting. It was kicking. There was a lot of pushing, but it was pretty much like that all the time. Whenever they were trying to fight for the TV time and the video gaming time, it was pretty awesome. Yeah, and I just kind of sit there and just watch. I was like, all right, cool. This is pretty fun. Just
wait for mom to come over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember Final Fantasy VII when that came out. Like that was,
you got me obsessed with that.
Yeah, that game was I think one of the ones that really brought Elliot into like the RPG realm, and he just got hooked from that point where he started learning Japanese and everything kind of took off from that point. So I think that was a life-changing game for Elliot. So
you guys ever play much together? Like, was there any games that you felt like brought you guys together?
I think because when we were younger, we lived different parts of the U.S. Yeah. So tell you the truth,
I'd say. Like we didn't play Final Fantasy together, but as you said, like I think that one was had the biggest effect on me in terms of like what you were introducing me to. Mm-hmm. I learned, I tried to teach myself Japanese because I couldn't wait for the translation for Final Fantasy VIII, and then ultimately like moved to Japan where I met my wife, and
wow,
you could be responsible for all of that.
Yes, make sure you tell Amy that. But
oh man,
yeah, that's to tell you the truth. Actually, besides that game, I think we played. Well, back when he finally moved back to Virginia, and we played Nintendo Wii bowling a lot, which was always classic. Because if you ever see Elliot do any type of like, he's basically physical comedy incarnate. So, and
he's
so
an awkward dude.
It was pretty awesome. So but besides that. Nah, actually, to tell you the truth, we haven't. And I'm hoping like in the once I get a rig, we can actually start gaming more. I'm not going to be jumping on, whatchamacallit, what's that game
PUBG?
again? No, the other.
Rocket League.
I'm not going to be jumping on Rocket League. But hopefully there's a couple other games coming out that we can co-op together.
We should all do Fortnite on PS4. It's as a free download. I mean,
yeah,
I'm down. You don't got to tell me. As soon as this podcast is over, I'm jumping right on that.
I'm down. I'll get it downloaded now. Well, so what else has been taking your fancy right now, Carlos? What have you been playing?
Oh, right now it's between Monster Hunter and Fortnite. Monster Hunter is amazing. It's everything that all the reviewers have cracked it up to be. It's truly a very
had
deep
you
game.
played the handheld versions? Had you played
No, actually,
like other iterations?
I'm a recent convert. I remember the old Monster Hunter games, and they looked interesting, but they were on Nintendo. And like I said, for some reason,
Yeah.
during that point in time, Nintendo was not like in my spectrum of like video game systems that I really wanted to play that much, because I was into PS4, more like at that point you're into like more adult type gaming. So you're into, the Resident Evil games, you're into the Call of Duty games, etc., all that stuff. So Monster Hunter kind of just sat back in the background, but you knew it was a big game because it was all over Japan. But no, this
Definitely,
is so I'm a recent convert and I love it. I can honestly say it's a fantastic game. It's very in depth. It has a pretty steep learning curve, because there's lots of menus, lots of stuff to learn. I mean, there's 12 different weapons. Each weapon acts differently. Each weapon performs differently. But I mean, it's a game that you have to invest a lot of time into. And since I stopped playing Destiny 2, I have time to spare.
Have you got a regular crew that you play with? Have you got the same 3 guys who you play with all the time, or how does that work?
Yeah, for the most part, I do have a crew of guys that I do play Monster Hunter with. But the good thing about that game is you don't really need them. You can go on solo hunts, and solo hunts are just as rewarding. And since the game itself scales, it scales its difficulty depending on how many actual people you have playing with you. So if you're running solo, it'll be a tough, dragon that you're fighting or whatever. But if another person comes in, it'll scale up. So then it becomes even harder. So if you're playing it solo, you might even have more of a chance to survive, because on most high level bosses, you only get three tries at it. So you can only faint, what they call, when you actually die. You can only faint 3 times before it completely kicks you out and says you failed the mission. So if you have somebody else with you and they're not as good as you, or their armor isn't as good and can't take the damage, they might faint and cause you to lose your lives before you can actually slay the.
So if anyone faints, then everyone loses that time?
Exactly. So your whole squad, if you have a squad of 4, if you have 3, regardless of who faints, if you have 3 faints within your squad, your missions failed. So
dang.
And so it makes it tough. It makes it pretty tough when you're like, I'll be helping some other friends level up their characters, because they'll recently start up. They'll be like a hunter rank 7. I think right now I'm a hunter rank 14, which is not high, but it's middle of the road. And I'll help them out, and I'll be like, okay, come on a hunt with me to like help me out, or at least help them get higher level drops.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out at all.
So it's still tough for you, because that's really fun. That's one thing that we always would have found a problem. Like, for example, when me and Elliot tried to jump in to Destiny probably with you at some point, or definitely with Josh, because he was so many levels ahead of us, he was just killing everything. Yeah. And we were like shooting things 6 headshots and they would not go down, And at some point we were just sitting back and watching somebody else's roller coaster,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, everybody can play an intricate part regardless of your level. For example, you can have somebody who's a lower level who can actually provide people with health bonuses, and you can shoot your allies with additional health. So you can just stay in the back, and you could have a bow and arrow, and you can actually have a bow and arrow that gives health. You can stay in the back and just help your guys out, because you might not be able to actually do that much damage to the creature that you're fighting. So it is more like an MMO. Like, there's classes, there's roles. Exactly. Yeah, it's healing arrows. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a really in-depth game, and then you got different armors. It's rewarding in the sense of the more you play, the more you start getting the materials you need to forge your new armor, to forge your new weapon, and they got trees for everything. For your weapons, you can start off with a low level one, but you can just start getting more materials for it. That will span out into like 5 different type of weapons you can create out of it. Oh man! So it's pretty amazing. It's a pretty in-depth game, and they've done a great job at keeping it fresh. So it doesn't feel repetitive. It doesn't feel like, for example, the other MMO that played recently a lot was Destiny, and Destiny 1, you're kind of running the same missions over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Just to, I don't know, just to level up a gun or something. And it got boring. And in Destiny 2, they even did a worse job with it. I mean, Destiny 2 was just, well, actually, let's not even talk about it because it's not worth talking about.
No, come on, let's talk about it. Tell us about your heartbreak, because we know how much you were looking forward to it, having loved Destiny 1, and particularly the expansions, I'm guessing, which I heard were a totally different game to the original.
Yeah, the original, vanilla Destiny was mediocre, to say the least. And it definitely stepped it up when the Taken King was released, a year and a half later. And then in the final year, when Rise of Iron was released, the game was amazing. Fun to play in every way and form, in the sense of the PvP aspect of it was a blast. Going 6-on-6 against other people, everybody felt overpowered. And at that point, people had it for 3 years, so everybody is at the highest level. And you got Nova bombs exploding everywhere. You got Titan smashes going off everywhere, and fun, hectic time. And then Destiny 2 came out. They scaled it down to 4 players, and it's like, why?
What the hell was that?
I mean, I understand they wanted to make it more of a competitive, kind of like an intense match, but on top of that, they slowed the game down. They slowed down your actual movements in PvP, which to me just makes no sense. I mean, you want to keep that fun, frenetic pace that keeps people coming back. And they took away like the special weapons. They only have now your primaries and then like a heavy weapon. The special weapons all got dropped into heavy weapons, and there's no more like really one-on-one chances where you can have one amazing person on your team that could potentially take out 4 people at once, and it's so now it's all team shot. And we'll see what happens in the next couple of updates that they do. Hopefully they can, bring it back to what Destiny 1 was at the end. It's basically they need to repair Destiny 2 enough where they can actually say it's back to being Destiny 1 at end of year 3. And
man. That's so frustrating that they just they had a working formula that took them so long to get there.
Yeah.
And then they just roll it all back, and people have been pissed about it from the start.
Yeah, exactly.
And was it December that they announced a whole bunch of changes going forward? And I guess you were saying they did another bunch of promises recently as well.
Yeah.
Did it make any difference?
Actually, I haven't jumped onto it, but supposedly they've done some damage buffs to certain weapons to try to make it a little bit more competitive. They've increased the speed of the characters to make it more fun. Supposedly in the September update, they're bringing back some 6v6 matches for PvP.
Oh, cool.
But it's only going to be for Iron Banner play. So if anybody plays Destiny, then you'll know what Iron Banner is. And then it'll only be for that special occasion, and that's like once a month thing. But I mean, they got a long way to go before they can. I can say it's. I mean, for me, who was a hardcore Destiny 1 player, well over probably 1,500 hours invested into that game alone. Yeah, it was a lot. When you go into time wasted on Destiny, and I saw how much time it was, I was like, Jesus Christ, I need a life. But yeah, I have no desire to really go back to it. I mean, not too long ago, I did play with one of my friends who only plays Destiny, because he was like, come on, man, get online and play with me. And I was like, all right, cool. I got on, had some pretty good matches, had some fun with it, but I was like, yeah, there's still not enough there. And I was like, all right, as soon as he got offline, I was like, I went back to playing Monster Hunter. And I was like, all right, I'm happy with this, because I'm still working on getting a better weapon. So
yeah. It's so interesting that Monster Hunter has filled that gap.
Like Elliot Destiny 2 people.
Yeah, Ellie was trying to get us into Destiny 2, and I gave it one shot, and it just felt like the same game that Destiny 1 was. When I tried it way back at the start, I only ever tried vanilla Destiny and just couldn't get into it at all.
Yeah.
But Monster Hunter, as you say, the fact that it can handle people of different levels and always give you something, some kind of reward, some kind of payback. And obviously you're looking for that loot-driven, feedback loop, that sense of satisfaction, increase in what you have.
It really is. That's exactly what you're looking for. You're looking for that type. I mean, if you play MMOs or if you play any type of loot-based kind of game, whether it be a shooter or in Monster Hunter's case, which is, it's an adventure game, essentially. You're running through a forest, you're hunting a monster, you're finding resources, you're crafting, herbs. You're crafting demon powder that will help you, boost your attack level, etc. You got all these things, and yeah, it definitely it fills that gap that that Destiny 2 just seemed to have abandoned. And no longer had it. I mean, Destiny 1 had a farming aspect to it. Destiny 2 just somehow they forgot to include that in. I mean, they made Destiny 2 for casuals, and I think that was their downfall ultimately.
Yeah. But lately, even Monster Hunter hasn't been holding your attention.
No,
you've been dipping into something else that's really in the meta right now. One of the biggest games around, from what I hear.
Yes, I'm one of the many that has fallen into the trap of Fortnite. And as Ninja, the Twitch streamer, proved last week, he hit I think 600,000 concurrent viewers. That in the course of an evening. But I mean, obviously aided by the fact that he was playing with Drake.
That might help a little.
He was playing with Drake, and he was playing with a rapper, Travis Scott, and that alone right there just shows it's a free game that is just blowing up. It's pretty amazing what Epic
did with
that.
Yeah, for sure.
He was saying he makes $500,000 a month streaming Fortnite.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is your new job, Carlos.
If I was ever that good, yes, I would love to do that as a living. But
so why is it better than PUBG? Tell me that. Did you ever give PUBG a go? Did you ever?
Actually, no. I never. I don't have a system that can play it, since PS4 is still waiting for PUBG to be released on it.
Those exclusive contracts.
I mean, the thing, it's funny. I do have an Xbox One, but it just collects dust. It honestly hasn't been turned on in about a year and a half.
That's so sad.
Yeah,
I've got one, and it's basically a backward compatibility machine.
Really?
I use it for and I haven't even used it recently. But what have I played on? Red Dead Redemption and the original Bayonetta. That's the only place I own it right now. So games that I keep telling myself I'm going to play at some point, I've got on there.
Yeah. So I mean, I bought mine. I got the Halo Special Limited Edition Xbox box and everything. It was a $500 paperweight, essentially. My wife is so mad at me. She was like, "You ever gonna play with that thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's games coming out for it eventually."
Someday.
Unfortunately, they're all being cancelled now. It's so sad.
It's like, why are you getting a Switch when you've got this other one you don't play? It's like, no, it's not the same thing. You don't understand.
Exactly.
Imagine if Sea of Thieves ends up being the next Monster Hunter. What would you do? Wouldn't your mind just explode?
It would have to wait. Monster Hunter is only PS4, right? It's exclusive.
Actually, yes.
It's currently.
Yeah, currently, but it will
until
be,
it comes out on PC.
Okay, because I was going to say there's no way Sea of Thieves could get that popular as an exclusive. I was like, well, no, okay. Well, there's Monster Hunter, so never mind.
Yeah, and Sea of Thieves is probably cross-play with PC as well, I would guess.
Because we got the
it's on two
Microsoft platform, so...
Yeah.
And from what it seems like, Sea of Thieves looks like it's at least in the beta testing, people have really enjoyed it, had a good time with it. I think there are some frustrating elements to it where I was watching some guy play, and he said, I just got put in the brig for no reason. I just loaded into the map and I got voted into the brig. So then I was just stuck in the brig the whole
seriously?
match. Yeah. And he was like,
so people are like griefing and stuff.
People are just like trolling other people. And as soon as they jump in and just,
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that happens with any game. So
true.
Yeah.
Until the developers sort it out.
Exactly.
That's what beta tests are for.
So about Fortnite, like in terms of the crafting, and that's something that I'm not usually into. I'm like, that's kind of why I prefer PUBG. I don't want to be at a disadvantage because I couldn't be arsed like with the crafting systems. Do you use the crafting much, or is it more of a shooter?
I feel like you have to. You have to at least get some basic form of, building a mini fort, or at least building ramps to get yourself out of situations, or building barriers. Because, definitely when you start getting down to like the lower numbers, and you got like 10 people left in a match, and the circle's getting smaller, the zone's getting smaller, you're building basically a little fort for yourself just to make sure you don't get plucked off by a sniper as soon as they see you running through a field. And it's a much needed item, much needed aspect of the game. So system of the game. Yeah. So, one thing I do got to say though, because, obviously PC players have an advantage over the console players. They've given us console players a little bit of a respite by giving us a little bit of an aimbot. So it does help.
Yeah, there is auto aim.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an aimbot that does help. I was actually working with that the other day. I was figured out that if you zoom in and shoot, and basically just got to keep zooming in and zooming out, and keep shooting, and then it picks up. The aimbot picks up and it actually helps you start landing more shots. So I started working with that the other day, and I was like, all right, this might help. This might give me a chance.
Yeah.
Is it just Xbox who are playing against PC, or can PS4 play against PC?
PS4 plays against PC as well. So it's all.
I did not realize that.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Supposedly, Xbox is Microsoft has been trying to negotiate with PS4 to allow PS4, Xbox compatibility on Fortnite with PC as well. So you'll have all three different systems or players on there. So
yeah, it's got to happen. It's so far past time.
Sony won't play ball. It's the same as Rocket League.
Yeah, Sony won't play ball.
You can play Switch, PC, and Xbox together, but not PS4.
Yeah. I'm telling you. It has to be at some point where all those walls cave in, and you got to allow players to play what they want to play, where they want to play it.
Yeah, we've been wanting this since PS2 and Xbox days. Where, someday.
The possibilities are endless. You would have massive. Think about COD in Call of Duty tournaments, because you have so many players on both sides that that don't want to switch. They prefer one console over the other. Yeah.
But that's why, they, you prefer it on PS4, but all your friends are on Xbox, so you buy it on both, or you buy both consoles, and that's, it only means extra sales, I guess, for the console developers, and not fewer.
Yeah.
I guess so. Well, we'll definitely jump on with you on Fortnite on PS4 and get our asses handed to us, because let's be honest, who is able to play first person or third person shooters with a controller? It is third person, isn't it?
It is third person, and it is pretty tough. I have a friend who's actually pretty decent at Destiny, and I've been playing with him Fortnite, and he is the worst shot I've ever seen in my life. we were texting about it earlier today. I was like, dude, you are atrocious. You literally shot around the guy's head. you couldn't hit him at all.
We'll look forward to getting some PS4 share videos of Elliot running around shooting past people's heads.
Exactly.
I'm sure I'm not much better. Yeah.
And you got to get that rig, man. You got to get that PC rig so we can play a bit of proper
I definitely will.
first-person games.
I've been working on my wife for a while to tell her I'm getting one. She keeps saying no because she's gonna lose me forever at that point. But I'm like, it's gonna happen, sweetheart. So stop fighting it.
That and a little bit of PUBG, perhaps.
Yes, actually, I do want to try out PUBG because it does look pretty good. So
it is so intense. If you go search for the clip of Rotherby playing, trying to play PUBG, it is the greatest. Just
I'll send it to you. I haven't seen it. Just the one,
nice.
just a panic, just a panic. Every time we play, something like that happens, and it's like we got to start recording these because they're so fucking good.
These new type of games where you have these survival games. They're the newest thing since PUBG came out. And then Fortnite, to build on top of that. It's just amazing how much, they just caught fire. It's amazing. It's everybody jumps in, you got 100 people in one game, and it boils down to just one person surviving. And
and the idea of the building and the crafting and creating your own structures, just adding that level of dynamism to Fortnite has actually got me thinking, okay, maybe there is a little bit more to this. Maybe it is worth giving it a go,
Yeah, I think that what might turn some people off is the fact that it looks so cartoony.
Definitely.
Because the graphics are very it does look like a cartoon, but I think the fact that it is like that takes away from the fact that it is a really great third person shooter. It's the guns actually all kind of handle and they all shoot in their own varying way, and it's an enjoyable game. But like I said, I can't really give you an honest opinion between the two of them because I really do want to. I need to get on PUBG at some point and see what that's like because it does look fantastic and it looks seriously intense from what I've seen in some of the online matches. So
it's really intense.
Elliot sitting there with his itchy trigger finger.
Yeah, I'm just like
shooting people in the back by accident. It's great.
So in PUBG, is there friendly fire?
Yes, there very much
most definitely is.
Well, I can definitely.
Is there not in Fortnite?
For the most part, I don't shoot at my teammates, so I can't say if there is or not.
Hard to say.
I've never done it.
We've done it quite a few times. Just stupid shit like you're aiming outside the car and then you're shooting behind you and then the teammate just pops his head out.
Boom, boom, boom. Sorry.
And he's rolling down the hill.
That's right. I forgot PUBG does have vehicles, right? That's actually pretty. That makes it unique in its own. All right. Once I get my rig, I will definitely be jumping on PUBG. And playing that. Hopefully playing that with you guys. You guys can teach me the ropes on that.
We'll teach you nothing, but it'll be a good time. We guarantee.
Josh has pretty much mastered that. He's put in over 100 hours, I think, right?
He's pretty good. He's got a couple of chicken dinners. He's like consistently finishes top 5 when he solo plays. Wow. He's completely useless when we play as a team. Yeah. He's just running off. We see an arrow just streaking away off our radars. And it's
that must be Josh.
Oh, Josh is going that way.
That is the funniest thing. Like as a solo, I'm pretty good in Fortnite. I'll hit top 10 most of the time. But for some reason, when we're playing in squads, it's a different beast. It's such a different beast because you really had to work well with your team. Like lately I've been playing with a group of friends. We've been kind of consistently playing with one another. We know now we have to drop literally within the eyesight of each other. Like we're in the same building, rummaging through, farming stuff, whatever. We're moving together to each house. Because if you don't do that, you're gonna just get plucked off one by one, and it's all about communication.
Yes, that's what we've learned.
Yeah, you can't.
That's what we're bad at.
You can't have the kamikaze going off in the distance by himself.
It's good times though. So what else have we been playing? Elliot, what have you been up to since we chatted to you last?
Oh man, yeah. So our backlog roulette game that we rolled was Observer.
Yep. And
I think we've all played a bit of it by now, and I don't know, man. I'm not having the best time with it. And granted, I'm not a horror game guy, and this game definitely has strong like psychological terror vibes.
Has it put you off? Has that aspect of it made you want to switch a game off, or?
Actually, I'm just stuck. I'm in this, but Josh gave us the solution. I just haven't been on yet. I went out of town. I went to out west to visit with Amy's parents. We went to visit them because it was her spring break. So cool. I just didn't get as much time to play this week. But it's weird. Like it's first person. It definitely has like an indie vibe to it.
Yep.
It's Polish developers. And Rutger Hauer is the main character.
So random.
It's like it's his voice and his likeness as the main guy, and you're just kind of walking around and you're solving mysteries. You have these like a bio scan and like a tech scan to figure out, to find clues, to kind of, it reminds me a bit of like Arkham Knight detective mode kind of thing, where you like flip on the different ways to see things.
Yeah.
And you're just going through an apartment. I think that seems to be the whole game, but I'm not sure yet. I went into the room and I dove into some guy's head, and and I'm in this like nightmare, and it's terrifying. Like there's like the jump scares, there's these really gruesome scenes, and I haven't given up on it, but it's just really slow going for like my usual taste in games compared to what I'm getting out of it.
So
yeah,
so
I agree, and I was enjoying a few of the scenes, but one of them in particular has a repeating room.
That's the one I'm stuck on.
kind of thing going on, and you run out of the room, and then there's some puzzle that I'm meant to figure out so that I'm not looping through the same room, but I couldn't figure it out. So I was going through the same room so many times and in different directions that I was starting to get nauseous. It was just like, this does not feel good. So, of course, what do? We call the Nintendo hotline Josh and asked him how to beat it, so he told us how to do it, and I figure that's probably what we should do and not get frustrated with it, just keep a walkthrough on hand to take a little look at if needs be. And with Josh not being on here, I guess we wouldn't got to talk about it yet anyway, so let's give it another go before the next one. We'll
do it next week. We'll hopefully have it wrapped up and maybe do another roulette if we're done with it. But yeah, like I'm in it. It's not bad. Maybe if I get past that puzzle, I'll pick up more momentum with it.
I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you play these scary. Is it a first person?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God,
it's first person like horror game.
Are you the same as Elliot? Really? This is so good. It runs in the family.
Oh my God, no! I would probably crap myself if I was playing one of those games. Like, especially when you got the 5.1 headset surround sound thing.
Oh yeah,
completely.
Probably playing a dark room. No, not a fan.
Oh man, Amy does this thing where when I've got my headset on, she doesn't want to like disturb what I'm listening to, so she'll just like creep up and like tap on the shoulder, like when I'm right in the middle of this, and I just like flip everything off. She's done it at least twice playing this game, and it's like not a good time, hon. Not a good time.
What was that? What was that game that Outlast? Did you guys ever play that one?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That was free on Plus a while back.
It was a similar idea, wasn't it? It was first person, and it had that night vision. You were using a camera, night vision.
I played about 10 minutes of that game, and I was like, nah, I'm done.
Nope.
I just put it down. I deleted it from my PS4. I was like, I'm good.
and then I went and sat in a brightly lit room and just told myself everything would be okay.
Exactly. Like, people like the coming out with all these VR games, and I think they're coming out with some VR like one of the the horror thriller games.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why do people want to?
Did you give RE7 a go? Did you play Resident Evil 7?
Hell no.
What? You were talking about the classic era PlayStation 1 and Resident Evil.
Back when I was younger, it was fine. I still got the crap scared out of me, but I was okay. But now I'm older. I'm like, I'm probably gonna die of a heart attack. But I did play the demo for that, and I got a couple jump scares out of me there, and I was like, no. I couldn't play through a full game of this. I literally would need a defibrillator right next to me.
I'm gonna have to pick it up on a sale at some point. I think I'd enjoy that.
I played the demo where you're in the room and opened the door to get out of the room, and I was like, nope. Like, it was just like dark on the other side of the door. I was like, that's enough. I'm out. But Observer has like a more of a I don't want to say cartoony, like it's not like Fortnite cartoony, but it's like a Unity game. Like you can tell
you can see the seams.
Like photorealistic.
You can see the seams a little bit because
that's a good way to put it.
It's indie, as you say, and probably not big budget and built in Unity. It's definitely it's kind of B movie.
It's a bit like a scary Blade Runner.
Yep.
Kind of feel to it.
Gotcha.
I think I got to give it another go. Definitely. We've got another 2 weeks now to try and power through. So let's give it a go in earnest.
You can do it, guys. You can do it.
Jesus.
I can.
Maybe if I streamed it, I would feel like I'm not alone.
Just keep a couple of crosses by you, Elliot.
Have you been playing anything else, Theo, besides Observer?
And again, I'm sorry Josh isn't around to have a chat about these. I've been dipping into the SNES Classic. So it was Josh at first was trying to get me to play Mega Man X, sorry.
And what do you call it? Is it?
It's Mega Man X.
It's X.
Is it X?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you played it, Carlos?
No, no. It seemed tough.
Yeah.
And but I've seen other. I have a couple of friends that have played it, and they're like, man, it's a really hard game. I mean, basically, the old school like side-scrolling games are probably like the harder games you'll ever play.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm fine though. It is even a level ratcheted up from Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2, I got through pretty easily with Josh's coaching of what bosses to take on in what order, and as well because I had actually watched a friend of mine, and I only remembered this while playing Mega Man 2 on the NES Classic, that I had watched one of my friends play quite a bit of it when I was like whatever age when it came out, like 7 or 8 maybe.
Yeah, probably around.
So I found it a lot easier. Mega Man X, there's just so much going on, so many enemies coming at you at all times. I've only tried 3 of the different levels. I've beaten one of them. I beat Chilled Penguin, so Josh was right. That was the one to go first. But this Mandrill one, Shock Mandrill, I just can't get anywhere in it. The mid boss just was nailing me. Yeah, I'm finding it so hard even to get from there to the Mandrill himself. At the end. It's really, really, really tough. And I'm thinking about just save scumming like after every jump. Starting to save. Because at this point, I genuinely don't know how else to do it. I know where the enemies are coming from. I know the patterns I generally should be taking or where I should be jumping. But it's just, there's so much going on. I'm finding it really tough. So I kind of got sidetracked from it with Super Castlevania IV. Have you played that game?
Saying.
I do remember playing it, but back in the day, like I honestly can't remember much about it, but I do remember playing it.
It is absolutely epic. Just booting it up from the first minute, it gives you a little intro, worded intro. Basically, Dracula has been asleep for 100 years, and now he's back, and the Belmont family have to go take him down again. And from the second you're put into a level, it's just like chip tunes, high tempo beats, and just enemies coming at you slowly. And I'm like, oh, I could do this. This is manageable. Using the whip, jumping from platform to platform. It's like, this is an instant classic. I was just hooked from the moment I jumped onto it.
Nice.
It's like, I'm sure like you'll probably not remember that much of it in terms of individual levels and stuff, but generally the graphics are typical SNES, brightly colored sprites. I'm sure at the time it was like really high res, and it does some for a 2D platformer. It does some really interesting things in terms of like faked 3D perspective.
Is it using like that mode 7, like quote unquote mode 7 thing from back in the day, where like they're turning the screen and like
absolutely. So there's like levels where, for example, you can go through a gate. So you can go through a gate and suddenly you're behind a fence. So that's a pretty straightforward one. That's almost like Mario in the castle levels where he taps on the little the gate and it flips around and he's like walking on the back of it. So that's more like that. But this one is, for example, the one that Carlos was talking about there, where the entire level rotates 90 degrees and you have to like whip onto a certain point in the ceiling, and then as the entire screen turns, it readjusts you and you can drop down onto a perpendicular platform. And it's got so much going on. It's got another level where it's almost like a clockwork theme, and as you're going through it, there's rotating in inverted commas cogs that look in a 2D plane. So when you jump onto them, they're like moving you back slightly. And I'm like, oh shit, these are going to throw me off down below, back to the left and down, and I'm going to die. But instead, it doesn't. You get pushed right to left, back, if you will, and then you get pushed left to right as the cog that you're on rotates into the background. And it's like, someone is a genius. Like, talk about doing so much with so little. It had all of these different, different quirks and different techniques and stuff for each level. It just kind of kept you guessing, and it also had one thing that I really like. Every single stage had a boss fight at the end of it, which just makes things so much more interesting. I feel like all games should have, your base game, whether that be platform or adventuring, and throw in mini bosses all the time, like back in the SNES era.
I completely agree with you. That's something that's missing from games nowadays. It's like those mid-level bosses where you still feel a sense of accomplishment. Yeah, you're beating a level, but you have something at the end where it's like, oh crap, this tough ass boss right here, and then you got to get through. And I remember
exactly
from Contra 3 from back in the day, how many bosses at the end of each level you were fighting a boss. And that type of classic old school kind of gaming I think it's kind of lost a little bit nowadays, and that's something that should be brought in. I think a game that does a good job of that, more like in the recent era, has always been the God of War games. The God of War games have always given you a really tough boss towards the end of a certain, I guess maybe like maybe not level, because there's multiple levels within the God of War sphere, but when you're about to transition into like the next area where it's changing completely, and you got a tough boss, or you got you had all the different gods that you were fighting in God of War, and that was one of the last games I feel like really gave you that feeling of, damn, all right, cool, we're about to get into a big fight with a mini boss or with a boss at the end of this level. And
did the Bayonetta games have something similar?
I feel like Bayonetta games had mid-level bosses, or at least like really difficult encounters.
They definitely had end-level bosses. Bayonetta 2, anyway, I played like the first 3 levels or something through. And it's just something to keep you on your toes, like something to make you a bit nervous. Oh shit, I've made it this far into the level, and now I better not die on this thing that I don't know what it's going to be doing or how it's going to attack me. It's just, it spices things up so much. It just makes it so much fun.
Yeah,
I love when you were talking about God of War, there was, I don't know if they did this in the later ones, but I remember one of the earlier ones, they had this thing where you did this mid-level boss, and it was some like Minotaur, and it took forever to kill him. And then the next stage, as a normal enemy, you fight 3 at the same time. And you're just like, what the fuck? How can you expect this out of me? But you do it, and it scales up, and it's a good way of teaching you the ropes there.
Didn't they do that? I think they did that with Medusas as well. At one point, you're fighting Medusas were like a mid-level boss, and you fight them, and then later on, you're like, oh man, you're fighting multiple Medusas going through a level. Yeah, pretty awesome. Yeah. Can't wait till the 4th.
And I also like that they just spice things up with your special weapons. And it doesn't quite have the depth of something like, I'm now realizing how close Symphony of the Night is to this, but also how many different what do you call it? They built on so much more to it, like so many more RPG elements are included in Symphony of the Night, which I played a tiny bit of on Vita, but I kind of got stuck and gave up on it. But you'll have like armor and weapons, and you'll have different special abilities. This is much more simple. You have like one special ability that you will pick up axes, for example, and then, or you might pick up knives, and they will replace the axis. So it's just a tiny little element that spices things up more, makes boss encounters a little easier. But it's really old school in that way. But it's just that extra little element, something that you have to think about, something that you have to factor in that will make bosses easier. But it's like all of these small elements make up such a fun game, a simple game in many, many ways, but I just adored it start to finish.
I actually haven't finished that one, and I think Josh was saying he hadn't finished it either.
Yeah.
But since the SNES Classic came out, I I think I might have played like an hour of it. And it's one of those things where like you start playing it and it's just hard to put down, as you were saying.
Totally.
Like it sucks you right in.
Yeah. I played like 3 hours of it the first day I started playing it, and I had no plans to play any of it at all. Like I thought I would boot it up. It's like it is such a classic. The music is amazing and fun. The graphics are good. The platforming, so the platforming, the actual controls and gameplay are quite stiff. They're quite slow compared to a lot of other platformers. But it's still fun and responsive, and it's quite forgiving at times as well. Sometimes you feel like you haven't quite jumped, high enough to get onto the ledge, but you make it up there, and it's oh good. Well, at least they're accounting for the fact that their gameplay is just a little stiff, a little wonky, but it makes it fun and slightly forgiving. Even though in general it is a pretty damn hard game, which kind of brings me to one of the aspects that I'm not quite proud of. I did do a bit of save scumming.
That was my next question. Like, did you use the save states?
I had to.
You beat it so fast. I was like, damn.
Because like I was getting through it. What I did was I would try to beat it. I would give it a few goes, just going from start to end of the level. If I was finding I just couldn't get past certain places, I would like save at the start of whatever screen I was dying consistently in. So there might be like five different areas within a stage, for example. So if I kept getting to the third and there was this one guy who just kept killing me, like would jump into me as I landed on a platform and knock me straight in, to my death, then I would be like, okay, I'm gonna save scum on this screen so that I can make it to the end. And bosses as well. If there was a boss who was just completely nailing me and I couldn't even learn the patterns because he was just owning me so badly, I would save before the boss. But apart from that,
not during.
Not during, usually.
I always do.
Maybe, well, do you count it as during if it's like between the bosses? Because the last stage is like basically, 2 phases of one boss and then like 2 phases of another boss and then maybe 3 phases of a final boss or something like that. Yeah, so I mean,
that sounds like a blast.
I think there was one of them that I had to like save in between, but in general, once I worked out the patterns, it was doable. It wasn't easy. I mean, like the day that I finished it, I was probably up till like 2 a.m. doing it or something. I was probably sorry the next day, but man, it was a fun game. It has me in that mode again where I'm like, I got to play more of these SNES games. How did I miss out on this generation? How did I not play these games at the time like you guys did?
Yeah.
They were classic games like Super Ghouls and Ghosts. All those games.
Oh, Jesus. Those are so hard.
I never beat Ghosts and Goblins or Super Ghouls and Ghosts. They were
I don't think anyone ever has.
Damn hard. You know what's funny? My dad actually got to the last boss on that game. On Ghosts and Goblins, yes. I never. I mean, yeah, he was actually pretty good at those side-scrolling video games, but I never got that far. Yeah,
that's awesome. What a legend!
should have him on the podcast next.
Yeah, the other one that I dipped into just this afternoon. I flew back from Chicago. I was there for St. Paddy's Day, a highly successful St. Paddy's Day on Saturday, I might add. Ireland beat England in the rugby. Come on, a Grand Slam, a Six Nations Grand Slam. And then Liverpool won 5-0. Mo Salah scoring 4 goals.
Oh, man.
Saturday was a fantastic day, lads. I'm not going to lie to you. I had a couple of pints too. It was brilliant.
A couple.
Gotta be respectable. But it was a great day. But this afternoon, flew back from Chicago and was just looking for something to pop on, play a few minutes of. So I booted up Super Mario RPG.
Oh, I've been playing that.
What an absolutely weird ass game. It is so freaky. I mean, I guess like Mario and Rabbids is a little strange because it's different. Sure. It's Mario, but not Nintendo. But it's still very, very Mario. Super Mario RPG is like, whoa, this is so square.
Yeah.
This is completely like Chrono Trigger or one of the Final Fantasies. It's, well, early, obviously.
Yeah.
Such a strange game.
It was developed by Squaresoft.
Yep.
So it would totally have that style. So I am playing through it right now as well, but I haven't like turned it on in months.
Yep.
But
how far into it are you? And is it all like very small level based? I've only played the first 2 levels, and they were both really short.
They're all pretty much like that. Yeah.
Cool. That might make it easier. Might make it more manageable.
It's like bite-sized. Yeah.
Yep.
But I had played other Mario RPGs before, so I kind of knew what the formula was, where you can like, if you hit the button right when you attack, it'll add an extra point. Like it's got that timing based battle system.
Yeah, similar. The only thing I've ever played with that was South Park.
South Park.
Really?
Which one?
Wow.
Which one?
The first one, which was one of the funniest games I've ever played in my life.
I've been meaning to get the new one too. Fractured Butthole.
Yeah, I haven't picked it up. You might want to wait for it on Switch now.
Coming to Switch,
Nice.
Yeah. Hearing them say that on the Nintendo Direct was one of the small joys of my week.
You would never have believed it would happen, would you?
Didn't think I'd ever hear butthole on a Nintendo Direct. No.
Yeah. But yeah, so I might play a little bit more of Super Mario RPG. Yeah, Ellie, you should do the same then. It would make for a good chat.
Yeah, I would. If we finished it around the same time, that'd be great. Should get back into it. All right. I think that about wraps it up for us on episode 22 here of Rather Be Playing. So thank you, Carlos, for stopping by.
Yeah, man.
And
Thanks, guys, for having me.
it was great chatting to you.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Had a good time. Thanks for having me. And I'd like to shout out my wife for actually encouraging my video game playing. She actually bought me a really nice video game chair. It's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those with a high back racing type chairs, and got me a monitor and everything. So I'm really I appreciate you. Love you, Ma. And also want to shout out my video gaming clan. Not Even Good. Yes, that's our clan name. And we'll be on tonight, Fortnite. So if anybody's on Twitch, it's Bruticus, Bruticus 02. We ain't that good, but we have a lot of fun and we talk a lot of trash. So
nice. We'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I didn't realize you had a Twitch. That's awesome.
Yep. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
It's our pleasure, man.
Hopefully we'll have you on again in a future episode at some point. And I think next week we'll hopefully have Josh back. In the meantime, you can catch us at ratherbecast.com. You can follow us on Twitter at RBPcast. Stevo and I have our own Twitters, and Josh as well at RBP Stevo, at RBP Josh, at RBP Elliot. Follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/ratherbeplaying. We're on Facebook and YouTube, where we put our Twitch streams. Wherever you like to get your podcasts, you can find us: iTunes, Google, Android, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all those places. So if you do get us from there, don't forget to give us a little encouragement. Give us a little rating, like, subscribe, tell your friends. We much appreciate it. And if you want to send us any letters to the mailbag to read on the air, that's questions@ratherbecast.com.
Sweet.
I think that about covers it.
Think so. Thanks again, Carlos. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And thanks.
All right.
For
We'll
listening.
see you in a couple weeks.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.